Start the clock. Okay, so supermajority vote required to impose, authorize, or raise state taxes or fees. Prohibits a legislator from imposing, authorizing, or raising a state tax or fee except through legislation approved by a 2/3 vote of each house of the legislature in a bill containing no other subject. So no bundling like they're doing on some of these amendments. This proposal does not authorize a state tax or fee otherwise prohibited by the Constitution and does not apply to fees or taxes imposed or authorized to be imposed by a county, municipality, school board, or special district. So this looks like it's applying specifically to additional state taxes. Can you
That's
wanna,
right.
Yeah. Dive into a little bit of that there. That seems fairly straightforward too, though.
So this is a super majority for tax hikes. I think most people have heard of this idea. We have a number of states in the nation have requirements like this. Florida is a relatively low tax state, so we have a low tax culture up in Tehachapi or in Tallahassee in the legislature, and so this sort of reinforces that in a way. I think it makes people, feel good that you've got to have a 2/3 majority in the legislature to increase taxes. Empirically, it's a good question how much it works. Like states that have put this in place tend to still be able to raise taxes. So I'm not sure, I'm not convinced that it really does limit things, but it does force things to be, if you've got to get 2/3 of the vote and not just 51% of the vote, then there's got to be a lot more discussion and a lot more agreement, which couldn't be a good thing.
Yeah.
So I think each person has to sort of look at this and think, do they think getting more of the legislature to agree before they raise taxes is a fiscally responsible measure, or are they worried that if spending keeps going up or costs? I mean, people point to healthcare costs. So some of the opponents say, if you look at Medicare costs, Medicaid costs, other healthcare costs, costs for state workers, these things are going up. If we limit our taxes, are we going to get ourselves into a bind that we can't get out of, or we can't keep up the state?
But nobody's saying you limit taxes. They're just saying we all have to agree as a bigger majority to actually increase the taxes.
And again, Florida has a pretty, now, at least for the last couple decades, the taxes we raise are the taxes on tourists. The taxes on Floridians we don't raise very often. And so they won't have a problem getting 2/3 majority to raise taxes on tourists again, because that's easy, right?
Sure.
So, again, I suspect this won't make much difference in the long run, basically. So
this is some of the stuff where I start getting into what is the greater political ideology behind some of this stuff, and are we actually seeing spillover from a national ideological debate where maybe you're trying to lock in leaning towards a left or a right state position.
Absolutely.
And that's where some of this seems to have, it's maybe won't have an impact in the short run, but this is an amendment to the Florida Constitution.
That's right.
And so this is
very permanent.
If we're projecting forward and you think maybe Florida is going to become another California, then maybe you want to have one say versus another. And so this is where I think that comes into play, where if you're in tune with what's going on in a national scene or the positions that are being made, maybe you see this in a different light than just on some of the local issues, but we don't have enough time to dive into that.
Yeah, I'll just say you're absolutely right that if you think, we all know Florida's a purple state now. It's we don't know where it's going to go, but if you think the party composition of the legislature is going to change and you want to lock this in, that's one way to think about it.
Sure.